Hello, everybody. This is José Ignacio from the Uncomfortable Dialogues 2022.
It is my honor to have Paul Brizz with us today. Paul is the big picture leader who looks ahead. I met Paul many years ago, and since then, I always believe that he is constantly looking to explore how digital solutions will benefit the entire world. Paul is also a fact-based leader, less concerned with public opinion than getting to the bottom of important issues. Paul is charismatic, very flexible, and extremely persuasive. It is my deepest honor of calling Paul a long-time Chicago friend. Welcome to our Uncomfortable Dialogue 2022, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me today. I'm honored to sit down and chat with you, Jose, and share with you my perspectives, and just great to chat with you. So it's great to get connected.
Excellent. So, Paul, we were talking about Chicago, and as everybody knows, Chicago has always a very interesting weather. So, how's the weather today in Chicago?
Right now it's a little rainy and probably 40s, which this is probably applicable for 90% of the year for anybody listening in on this discussion. But last week it snowed, and tomorrow it's 80. So if you've been in Chicago, the weather changes quite a bit, and so does the world, right? So it's probably just a microcosm for the rest of the world, maybe over intensified. But today about 40 and rainy.
Well, okay. Sorry for that. And now, Paul, so very serious. So as you well know, this dialogue is about talking leadership facing adversity.
Yep.
And what is the better way to start this conversation by you giving the definition? So what does Paul think about a leader facing adversity?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Jose. And I think every leader in any point of their career faces some adversity, and it comes in, I think, all extremes, right? So there's big adversity, big challenges and big problems people have, big problems that businesses have, sort of fundamental headwinds, I'll call it, in their organization. And there's small adversity, right? It's maybe a broken foot or something else that sort of limits your ability to sort of like move as fast as you'd like it to, right? So I think there are personal challenges everybody has and everybody carries. For me, leadership is really about empathizing with your staff and your team, being a model for those individuals, not, sort of sitting in an ivory tower and sort of asking teams to do things, but also being there with them, doing the work alongside them. I typically don't like to ask my staff or my team to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, anything that's not important for the outcome that we're trying to drive as an organization. And so, this last 24 to 36 months, I think we've all faced an extreme amount of adversity. The world has changed radically in really just overnight, right? We've seen two overnight sort of shifts in the last 36 months here with the global things that are going on organizationally that have affected us personally, me personally, and my family. And I've seen it with our customers that we work with as they've addressed some of the rapid changes. I do think adversity, and you might call it change, can be difficult for people, right? And as you grow and you change as an individual, going through that period is always a challenge, right? And the things that I like to sort of, a metaphor that I use, it's kind of like working out at the health club. And that, to me, that could be adversity. If you go in the first day, you maybe feel good, you do a bunch of lifting of weights, and the next day you really feel sore, right? That's change, right? You're growing and you're evolving, but it's not comfortable, right? It's not a process that anybody enjoys. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And so, but in 3 weeks, you feel better about it. In a month, you feel and you look better. In 2 months, people are noticing like, hey, what are you doing that's different, right? Because change and adversity, I think, makes us stronger, makes us more resilient. It truly makes us better humans, right? And I think that's really where you start to expand and be a better person, is when you have adversity, because it makes you change and address what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. But going to the gym is optional, whereas facing adversity is not optional. Either you do it or you do it. No,
right. But the world changes right on us, right? So we don't have the luxury, right? To your point.
Sure.
You may not want to have adversity, but it will be presented to you as a leader, right? There'll be something that happens business climate wise that you had not anticipated. And you have to face that, and you have to address it, and you have to me, I think you have to be a part of the team to go drive that and manage through adversity versus asking everybody else to do something you might necessarily do yourself.
Yeah, good. Hey, Paul, if I compare the Paul I knew when I was in Chicago, let's say 5 years ago, and the Paul you are, so what have you learned through all these phenomenal adversities that we have overcome?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been a really, I think, positive environment for me for the last few years, right? And certainly there's an opportunity to look at the negative side of what we've all been through. Me personally, I think you have two views of looking at an object. You can look at the negative or the positive side of everything. You have to have both. And so I tend to focus on the positive. So in this adversity time, right, me personally, I think we've grown more closely as a family unit. We brought everybody home, during the period of sort of the pandemic and kind of retrenched there. That allowed us to get closer. And I think it's a time that we'll never have again, right? As the kids are older and grown and out of the house, having everybody back home, just was a unique opportunity to really bond. Professionally, we've also seen economic climates that radically changed. At the beginning of the year, the climate we felt was one way and radically changed, mid-spring. And so I think as a business climate perspective, I've seen that as well. We faced that and we've managed through that process as an organization. And I've seen our customers also manage through that process and really trying to think through that, to retrench a little bit, to focus on what's important. This connectivity that we have has maybe been a little isolated, but really to me, I think it's about being connected to each other, to being more empathetic to one another, to understanding each other's point of view, and being more diverse and open in the ideas that we face collectively as a society or as a business, and really working together to get through it. So to me, it's been a very positive learning experience for me in the last few years, right? As I sort of personally changed and also grow this organization.
Paul, we're about to land this plane. However, I still have one final question to you. On the scale of 1 to 100, where 100 is the most positive note, what is your optimism about the digital challenges or adversities for the years to come?
110.
Okay, excellent.
I'm extremely optimistic about the future, right? And I see it. And I do think AI helps contribute to this, and I think it got accelerated the last several months of our lives, and the fact that people are expecting immediate gratification, right? There's ubiquitous computing that's connecting us all. We all have a computer on our laps or our hips, right? Our phones. But AI ultimately will transform every business process and every organization. It doesn't mean that robots are going to walk the halls and sort of control everything. I think it will control and optimize key business processes that are routinized, and organizations, the sort of more progressive organizations, will leverage their data, what I call their corporate persona, to make decisions faster and more effective. The reality is, probably 80 to 90% of what I get in my home today comes off a truck, right? It gets delivered. I go online, I order it, and it's shipped to my house. The expectation is that I can get that the same day, right? So the speed of business is transforming, and people are expecting immediate gratification from that. And that requires businesses to fundamentally change, to use predictive and AI to help drive and streamline their business. I think that same ubiquitous computing also brings a level of commonality and civility to the world, right? We've seen it with individuals taking videos of things happening in the world that candidly we would never be exposed to. So I think it's bringing a more open-minded society. I think it's bringing a more collectively a fair-minded society that feels like everybody has a unique perspective and that we should be fair and compassionate to one another. And it's also speeding things up. So the next generation, my children who are leading and starting to enter the workforce, I think are much more open and more collaborative and supportive of one another, a lot because of the ubiquitous computing, the social media networks that are out there today that some view as negative, but I think are very positive. But they're also changing expectations of consumerism. And that, to me, is where AI plays a fundamental role, is how do we transform that consumer experience to make it faster and better? There's a book that I love that's called as the name of the book is As the Future Catches You. It's by Juan Enriquez, right? And he talks about becoming more personalized, prescriptive, and preventive. And it's really about the healthcare and DNA and the evolution of healthcare. But I think you can take that same concept into everything that we do. How are we becoming more personalized? How are we starting to become more prescriptive with our own interactions with humans, but also consumerism? And ultimately, how do we become preventive? Certainly in healthcare, it's critical, but I also think it's in every other aspect of the business. If I can use AI and data to anticipate things before I know they're happening and can prevent, some downturn in my business, that's great for everybody, right? It drives more predictable businesses. It helps, that more even sort of GDP or revenue growth for an organization. And I think it helps, kind of drive some more stability in everybody's personal life. So I'm very excited about the future. And I do think it's going to be a little bit transformational, and AI is going to contribute to a lot of that.
Excellent. So it's going to be 110, as you said.
110%.
It's not going to be
110%. I wouldn't give anything less.
Excellent. Hey, Paul, it's really a pleasure having a discussion with you. Thank you very much for the time. And for everybody else watching this dialogue, if you happen to have any question to Paul or to myself, just write it down here in YouTube and LinkedIn, and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.